At my age, I'm still single, and every month my younger sister Emily would transfer money to me. I do have a job, but as a temp worker, it doesn't look great. One day, Emily announced her engagement, and we had a family meeting with both sides. Michael, I heard about you. A loser being supported by his sister. Don't you feel ashamed? Emily's fiancé Kevin, who would soon be her husband, mocked me as he said this. Even though his parents tried to intervene, they seemed to look down on me just like Kevin did. Hey, Kevin, that's rude. His mother, Mary, tried to scold him, but she couldn't hide her laughter. Then suddenly, Emily stood up and looked down at her fiancé and parents. How dare you say that? Michael is actually. As Emily spoke, Kevin began to tremble. My name is Michael, and I'm a 55-year-old bachelor. I work as a temp employee, cleaning the common areas of apartments and condos. On this day too, I was about to clean the entrance of a condo, placing my cleaning tools in the corner. Two men were having a conversation there. They seemed to be staff from the tenant on the first floor. The slightly chubby middle-aged man appeared to be the boss, speaking arrogantly to the other guy. Not wanting to interrupt, I started sweeping the hallway first. Even after finishing everything except the entrance, they were still talking, so I began tidying up the unused cleaning supplies. Waiting for them to finish, then the middle-aged man spoke to me. Hey, what are you lurking around for? Are you eavesdropping on our conversation? Surprised by the sudden accusation, I defended myself. Not at all. I'm just here to clean. I thought it would be rude to interrupt, so I cleaned the hallway first. The middle-aged man cut me off angrily. Oh, so you, a mere cleaner, are telling us to move? He took a step closer and yelled at me. Listen up, I'll teach you something. I'm the president of the company on the first floor. I also live in the penthouse of this building. Someone in a lowly job like you shouldn't be speaking to me. He was so close that I couldn't immediately grasp what he was saying. While I stood there in shock, the middle-aged man took his subordinate and headed somewhere. As they left, the subordinate gave me an awkward nod. But still angry, the middle-aged man yelled, "What are you doing? Hurry up and call a taxi," and disappeared. Was my response wrong? Feeling unsettled and in a terrible mood, I left. Usually, after cleaning, I feel refreshed, but today I felt awful. I walked through the shopping district towards the station. I passed by office workers finishing work and families out for dinner. I encountered many different people. I wondered if there were others feeling as down as I was. I wanted to shake off this bad mood quickly. Autumn had ended, and by the time I got home, it was already dark. As my apartment came into view, my phone rang. The caller was my sister Emily, 12 years younger than me. I felt a rush of happiness at her call. Michael, it's been a while. I have some news. I'm getting married. In a bashful and happy voice, Emily made her announcement. I was so happy for her that I couldn't immediately find the words. That's wonderful news. Congratulations. Tears started to flow from my eyes. Emily and I are the only family we have. Our parents died in an accident when I was in college, and since then, we've supported each other. That day was Emily's 10th birthday. To celebrate Emily's birthday, I went to the department store to buy a present. Michael, take care of Emily for us. Sure. Don't forget to buy the cake. You two are having lunch out, right? Take your time. I waved my parents off with those words. Our parents were very close, and I was really proud of them. After they left, I took Emily to the supermarket to buy ingredients for dinner. Since Emily wanted hamburgers, and I enjoy cooking, I decided to make dinner for us. Returning from the supermarket, I started preparing dinner. Emily was watching TV in the living room when she suddenly raised her voice. Hey, isn't that a road we pass by often? The news was reporting a multi-car pileup. Mom and Dad might be late getting back. I assumed the accident would cause a traffic jam. I hoped that would be the extent of it, but then the phone rang. I had a bad feeling. Emily also looked worriedly at the ringing phone. Hello? Slowly, I put the receiver to my ear and heard shocking news. A drunk driver in a truck had crashed into my parents' car, causing a chain reaction of accidents. My vision went dark. I stood there, stunned by the news of my parents' sudden death. Emily and I rushed to the hospital, but we weren't allowed to see them. The damage was severe, and I understood why they didn't want Emily to see them like that. But that made it even harder for us to accept the reality. I can still vividly remember our parents leaving with smiles on their faces. Emily clung to me tightly while we listened to the police and doctors. Emily was devastated that her birthday had become the anniversary of our parents' death, and from that day, her smile disappeared. Every night, I could hear Emily crying in her room. I had no more tears left, even during the funeral. My heart felt hollow, and Emily's cries pierced me every time. After the funeral, a relative offered to take Emily in. I was about to graduate from college and start working, while Emily still needed a lot of care. The relatives, concerned about how difficult it would be for me, discussed it among themselves. I was truly grateful for that. However, I felt that our family shouldn't be separated. I will protect Emily. I believed I was the one who could bring back her smile, so I politely declined the relatives' offer. Emily also refused to leave the house filled with memories of our parents, so the relatives backed off but assured us we could reach out anytime. Just as our parents did for me, I vowed to ensure that Emily would graduate from college. I made that promise to myself. However, losing our parents had a significant impact on Emily's mental state. She became frequently absent from school and had trouble sleeping. As a college student, I could spend more time with Emily, but once I started working, it became harder. Emily, I have to start working in April, so maybe we should start practicing going to school? At my words, Emily burst into tears. No. I don't want you to leave too, Michael. I was just talking about work, but Emily, in her unstable state, panicked. But I couldn't avoid working, and Emily couldn't keep hiding forever. I decided to consult my aunt, Anna. I understand. I can only come once a week, but I'll try to visit as often as I can. Anna worked as a school counselor and was experienced in dealing with truant children. Since I was worried about Emily when my working hours increased, I asked her to check in on Emily from time to time. Listen, Emily. I'm here for you, so don't worry. Let's work together to get back to our normal lives. I patted her head to comfort her. The words "I'm here for you" always together seemed to reassure Emily, and I used them whenever she panicked. These words also expressed my commitment to supporting Emily as I began my working life. Although I had part-time job experience in college, working full-time in the real world was entirely different. I joined an electronics manufacturer as a sales representative. There, I learned many things while being scolded by my bosses and seniors. Customers would sometimes complain, making me realize the challenges of customer service. Honestly, there were times I wanted to quit. But I kept going for Emily's sake. Thinking of her, I could persevere through anything. President Johnson taught me the significance of earning a living, making me value my family even more, and I gradually advanced through hard work. Anna told me Emily was also making progress, which reassured me, but she still had unstable moments, so we always had breakfast and dinner together. While a long-distance truck driving job or night shifts would pay more, I decided to maintain our current lifestyle until Emily entered college. Our life wasn't luxurious, but we managed. To save on food costs, my cooking skills improved significantly, and Emily enjoyed the challenge of making tasty meals on a budget. However, when Emily was about to enter high school, the electronics company I worked for went bankrupt and I lost my job. I wanted to find another job quickly, but permanent positions were scarce, so I ended up taking a temp job as a cleaner. Unlike my previous job, I had flexible hours, directly going to and from cleaning assignments, which meant a lower income but more time with Emily. Since Emily was now in high school, she said, "I'll help out. Leave the laundry to me," and we divided the housework. Emily also started working part-time. Although she had been so depressed that she needed counseling from Anna. She eventually improved and enjoyed interacting with people at her convenience store job. Despite the changes in our lifestyle, we made sure to always eat together. Today is payday, so I bought a cake. We were poorer than most families. But even with our modest life, treating ourselves on payday became our little joy. I wished I could take her out for sushi or a family restaurant meal, but my salary only covered our basic needs. Since Emily started working, she earned her pocket money and managed her school expenses. She also began taking care of the garden our parents cherished, making it look better than when I used to maintain it. Dad and Mom would be so happy to see this garden. Emily smiled at my words. After losing our parents, I wondered how we would manage, but with Aunt Anna's help, Emily regained her smile. I really wanted to send her to a prep school for college. But I was so focused on saving for her tuition that I couldn't afford it, and I once had to bow my head in apology to Emily. "Michael, you don't know my grades, do you?" When she showed me her school test results, I was speechless. Recently, she had ranked within the top 5 in all mock exams. Despite being busy with housework and a part-time job, she managed to achieve such high scores. Emily was incredibly diligent and my pride. I realized she had been supporting me all along. She had once told me she planned to get a job after high school. She probably felt guilty seeing me work hard for her. But that wouldn't do. That would negate my efforts. "No, Emily, you should go to college and study what you love." Looking at me with a troubled expression, I told her. "Japan still values academic credentials, and even with a degree, like me, you could face unemployment if a company goes bankrupt. Life is unpredictable, so go to college." Emily's heartfelt concern touched me deeply. Even though we were living a modest life after losing our parents, I didn't want to limit Emily's future. Then Emily shared her dream with me: "I want to become a nurse." When Emily's college entrance exams started, she quit her part-time job, making our life a bit tougher. She was accepted into university, but with the overwhelming amount of assignments and practical training, we no longer had time for our cherished meals together. Now was the time to persevere. The nursing training was more demanding than I could have imagined, and Emily often came home exhausted, sometimes even bursting into tears as soon as she got home. I told her many times that it was okay to quit if it was too hard, but Emily always shook her head and continued to pursue her dream. Eventually, Emily passed her exams and fulfilled her dream of becoming a nurse. She got a job at the hospital where our parents had been taken and where they had passed away. That day changed our lives. Driven by the regret of losing our parents, Emily pushed herself to save as many lives as possible. To celebrate Emily's achievement of becoming a nurse, we treated ourselves to an extravagant dinner at a fancy sushi restaurant. Although Emily had secretly taken out student loans to cover her tuition, I made sure she had everything she needed for living on her own. "Michael, I'm home. I'll put this here." After starting her job, Emily would always come home on payday. "Since I quit halfway through high school and could only do a little during college," she would say, leaving part of her salary to help with living expenses. Although she had become independent, I always tried to refuse, but Emily insisted, saying it was her way of repaying me for supporting her through college. "Michael, you supported me from your first year as a working adult. Now I understand how difficult that must have been. You gave up your best years for me, and I'm deeply grateful." I had lived for Emily's sake, never thinking of it as a sacrifice. It was my duty as a brother and a family member. But if accepting her money would ease her guilt, I decided to take it. "All right, I'll accept it. But only half." I tried to ease her burden as much as possible. As Emily got busier with work, her monthly visits became less frequent, and she started transferring the money instead. However, we kept in touch through messages. I never expected that the next call I received would be about her engagement. Reflecting on our past, I felt nostalgic. I truly wanted Emily to be happy. She had gone through so much and deserved all the happiness. Emily always smiled, lifting my spirits when I was down. She must have had her own tough times and probably wished her life was more like other kids' homes. But Emily never complained and always expressed her gratitude to me, saying thank you. Tears welled up in my eyes. If I'm this emotional now, I'll probably cry my eyes out at her wedding. The family meeting was set for the following Saturday, and I marked it in my planner immediately. I wondered what kind of person Emily would bring. I was eagerly looking forward to meeting the family who would be living with my dear Emily from now on. The big day arrived. Dressed in a new suit, I headed to the French restaurant where the meeting was scheduled. I usually wore work clothes, so it had been a while since I wore a suit. I checked myself in the mirror multiple times. I prayed for a wonderful day. With determination, I bowed before our parents' altar. Emily and her fiancé were already waiting outside the restaurant. Her fiancé, Kevin, looked very refreshing. Emily, who had been lamenting her lack of good matches, was 43 years old. I was curious about her fiancé's age, but at 45, he was close to Emily's age, which reassured me. Kevin worked at a bank and seemed sincere. They had met through mutual friends at a gathering. With his polite manners and constant smile, I felt confident that Kevin and Emily would build a happy home together. As the three of us enjoyed a pleasant conversation, Emily's fiancé's parents arrived. "Nice to meet you. I'm Emily's brother." I immediately greeted her fiancé's parents and bowed deeply. Then her fiancé's father, John, looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Have we met somewhere before?" Looking closely at John's face, I felt he looked familiar. "Oh!" I exclaimed. I remembered, he was the middle-aged man who had yelled at me while I was cleaning the other day. John seemed to recognize me too and laughed through his nose. "Ah, so you're the cleaner from that time." He then began boasting about himself. "You have a tough job, don't you? Besides that tenant, I also own other companies and run a business in a building near the station." He continued talking about his achievements and income, clearly looking down on me. Emily's fiancé's mother, Mary, sighed and tried to stop him. "Please, let's leave it at that and listen to what the two have to say." Even though she intervened, John seemed displeased and redirected his focus entirely on me. Despite it being a celebration for the two of them, he bombarded me with questions. Although I wasn't feeling great, they were the important family of Emily's partner. So, I answered all their questions. "We lost our parents, but we've supported each other all this time. Emily became a nurse to help others and reduce the number of people losing their lives like our parents. Despite her own challenges, she even contributes part of her salary to household expenses every month. She has a truly kind heart." I shared our story as requested, but the one who reacted was Kevin. "Wait, is that story true?" Kevin laughed, clutching his stomach. "Michael, I've heard about you. A useless man being supported by his sister. Don't you feel ashamed? A sister sending money to her brother. That's unheard of." Kevin mocked me, and I felt a wave of regret for sharing our story. Even though his parents tried to intervene, they also seemed to look down on me. "Kevin, that's rude." Although Mary scolded him, she couldn't hide her laughter. When I glanced at Emily, she was looking down and trembling. She probably never imagined her fiancé could be like this. She seemed deeply shocked. Despite it being a special occasion, I had embarrassed Emily. I couldn't turn back now and felt at a loss. Then Emily stood up, looking down at Kevin and his parents. "How dare you say that? My brother Michael is actually..." Struggling with her words, Emily continued. "John, do you know the name of the building where your company is located?" "Oh, it's the Smith Building. I thought it was a coincidence that it had the same name as yours." John smiled as he spoke, but Emily revealed the truth without hesitation. "Do you know the name of the owner of that building?" "Ha? I don't remember such details." "What does that have to do with anything?" John looked at Emily irritably, and I interrupted, feeling a spark of irritation myself. "Allow me to introduce myself again. I'm Michael Smith, the owner of the Smith Building." The three of them widened their eyes in shock. While working as a temp, I had invested our parents' inheritance wisely. Real estate was one of those investments, funded partly by the money Emily sent me each month. I had planned to give Emily some of these investments as gifts when she got married, and they had grown enough to support me without working. "You've worked so hard. Now, why don't you take it easy?" Emily had also once told me to take it easy, but my nature made me want to keep working. Now, I clean various buildings and condos 3 times a week as requested. That's where I unexpectedly ran into John. Since my company also cleaned his building, I often encountered his employees, but the atmosphere was always unpleasant. And they never returned my greetings. Knowing John was their boss now made perfect sense. Hearing Emily and me speak, Kevin began to tremble and quickly changed his tone. "Oh, I had no idea you were the owner. What a wonderful brother you have, right, Dad?" "Yes, a very respectable man." Their sudden flattery made me feel nauseous. "Really? It's such an honor to become family with someone who put Emily through college." "Indeed. Since we are becoming family, how about a discount on the rent?" It was unclear whether he was joking or serious. "I'm afraid we don't offer such services." I said this with a serious face and a low voice to the three who were grinning slyly. Sorry, Michael. I accidentally let it slip even though it was a secret. Given the unpredictable nature of life, Emily and I had kept the details of my investments between us. Emily peered at me with a worried look, and I responded with a smile, saying, "It's okay, don't worry about it. I mentioned the allowance, so we're even. But it's good this way." We got to see Kevin's true colors and almost avoided a big mistake. Everyone present let out a collective "what?" Emily smiled brightly and said, "Of course, this wedding is off. Kevin and his parents are too much, they would corrupt me too." Seeing Emily so strong, I felt proud. Later, Emily, who had taken some days off, came to stay at our family home. While we were having tea, the doorbell suddenly rang. We rarely had visitors other than deliveries, so I was curious as I went to the door. Opening it, I saw an unfamiliar handsome man standing there. I was about to ask if he had the wrong house, but he spoke first. "Excuse me for the rudeness of my parents and brother the other day. I apologize for their behavior." I was surprised he knew about the incident. "I'm Tom, Kevin's younger brother. I heard about my brother's rudeness and came to apologize. I am actually the owner of that French restaurant. Emily is here now, please come in." Tom explained that he had been excited when he heard about his brother's engagement celebration being held at his restaurant and had prepared special dishes. However, after hearing about his family's behavior from his staff, he was disillusioned. Tom seemed to be a sensible person and shared how his family had troubled him over the years. "As you probably realized, my father is arrogant, my mother just goes along with him, and my brother looks down on everyone. I couldn't stand it and kept my distance by attending a boarding school." He sighed deeply, expressing his frustration with his unchanging family, and then said something surprising. "I know it's sudden, but hearing Kevin's story made me realize I need to protect Emily. I've received bragging messages from Kevin about his dates and her cooking. The more I heard, the more I liked her." I was so surprised that my mouth hung open. I know it's not the best timing, but I can't suppress my feelings. Neither Emily nor I had expected this turn of events. I have no intention of associating with my parents or Kevin anymore. If Emily is willing, I'd like to date her, even if we start as friends. Emily couldn't immediately agree, but they began going out as friends. Working as a civil servant at the city hall and later becoming the owner of a French restaurant, Tom had an interesting background. He learned to cook from scratch as an adult and opened his own restaurant, which quickly impressed Emily. A year later. "Please allow me to take care of Emily." Tom vowed to cut ties with his family and protect my sister. There was no reason to refuse such a sincere man. So I accepted him. Given their ages, they decided not to have a wedding ceremony and planned a trip around the country instead. Wanting to wholeheartedly celebrate, I paid for the entire trip. Emily's happiness is my happiness. Today, as always, I pray at our parents' altar, wishing for Emily's continued happiness.